Three takeaways from Atlanta United's 2-0 loss to Charlotte FC here at Bank of America Stadium, brought to you by Sweetwater Brewery, our partners here at Scars and Spikes. Sydney here in Charlotte. Tyler Henry joined me as well. Guys, a tough day at the office for Atlanta United this Saturday afternoon. Looked good in the first half, but then things kind of fall apart in the second half. Um, Zaha scoring and adding an assist in his debut with Charlotte FC. So let's get right into it. Takeaway number one, the second half, through the first two matches of the season, it's kind of been a ugly trend for Lady United. They, of course, won last week against CF Montreal, not this time. Go down in defeat 2-0. And there's just in the press conferences afterwards among Ronnie Dyla and Surly Breguzin, just kind of a frustration around what happened today. Dyla said himself, same thing happened last week and we got away with it because we got 3 points. This time was much different. And he said, we know what to do. I mean, we came out in the first half looking good, but then those kind of came out in the second half. So plenty to work on the training ground as Red Bulls come into town next Saturday, guys.
Yeah. I think literally both of these matches have been, you said, a tale of two halves. And the first half, I feel you had about as good of a game as you could have, minus scoring the goals. You had opportunities. You had double expected goals. You had like 5 times the amount of shots. You had Miggy with two really good tight angled opportunities, but two really good opportunities. You had Latte Loth with what would have been a banger had it hit the back of the net. So yeah, I mean, you were creating things, you were doing well, you were limiting Charlotte. And then Charlotte comes out in the second half and they start playing the ball long, and it completely took Atlanta's defense by surprise. And they got punished on it. They made some individual mistakes. And what you posted, Sydney, from Charlotte that Dallas said was the team kind of retreated into their individual shell.
Yeah,
We talked about it a little bit on Spaces, but that seems to be kind of a thing that's happened that Dyla is going to have to fix with this team, because what it comes down to is it's not, I don't think it's fatigue. I don't think it's any other issue other than bad habits and bad mentality that he's admittedly been trying to get out of this team from last year. But that is not a thing that can be fixed in preseason. That's not a thing that can be fixed in a couple matches. It's going to take time, but I do feel confident that Dial is the guy to get them back on track with their mentality and their discipline.
Better.
Yeah, it feels like mental fortitude is one of the things that they really have been lacking for a few seasons, and it's frustrating because you look at the two halves and you're encouraged by the performance in the first half, and you're like, okay, there could be a result coming. You're really looking for the goal, and then the second half is just completely different, and it's like, credit to Charlotte because they went into halftime and Dean Smith must have given him one heck of a team talk because they came out differently. They knew how to hit Atlanta where it hurt, and it was basically, yeah, it was that. It was them coming out much stronger in the second half and hitting Atlanta kind of fast and running away with it. So it's disappointing. It's concerning because it's a trend that has happened. Same thing in Montreal. Second half begins and Montreal immediately, equalizes, and Atlanta scores, and then Montreal equalizes again, and then Atlanta was lucky to get the last hit in that 3-2 win. But it's happened in previous seasons also, and that is something that they have to work out. I'm sure that they will. Again, it's the second game of the season. It's a road game against a team that we knew was going to be competitive. So I'm not too concerned about this, but there are things that have to be worked on for sure.
Oh, definitely. And going back to Tyler's point about bad habits, I asked Breguzin, well, I asked Ronnie Dyla too, but I asked Breguzin, is it a matter of bad habits among this team within the locker room? And he kind of flatly said no. So we'll see what happens on the training ground. Again, of course, Red Bulls coming to town on Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Takeaway number 2, Llamas shutout on the afternoon. Really not for lack of trying. Latte Lot, Almiron, Miranchuk, and Saba. No goals, obviously. you can see little spurts, especially in the first half, of what this attack could kind of be when it's all comes together, however long that takes. But of course, disappointing for them not to get on the score sheet, especially Latte Lat after his debut the previous week against Montreal. So chalk this up as a non not non performance, but no goals, no assists, obviously, in a clean sheet in a shutout loss. But again, we'll see how they come out against Red Bulls, Tyler.
Yeah, I think it wasn't like you just had, and I say this with the caveat that the definition is not the one I'm looking for. They didn't get shut out and that they had no chances. They weren't creative.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 2-0. I get that. But it wasn't that they didn't do things in the attack. It wasn't that they didn't have opportunities. The first half, like I said before, Miggy has the 2 very tight angled shots. He has 2 just at the top of the box that are completely just blocked. Miranchuk has a kind of a weak shot in the first half.
Yeah.
Latte Loth has opportunities. Saba has opportunities. Like, the attack was being creative. That's not the issue. And even then, you go into the second half, and they did quiet down a little bit, but they were still at least progressing the ball. But then you get hit on 2 silly counters. It is what it is. So as far as the attack, the Llamas, like, I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned because the chemistry is still growing. What they were showing today and last week is still very, very positive. So, yeah, I'm not concerned. I think it's just the football gods didn't really shine on the Llamas today as much as they did,
Yeah.
Charlotte.
Yeah. Henry.
There were 2 sides to this for me. The one side was Atlanta being very unlucky in the first half, not to get any goals. All the shots were either blocked or barely went the wrong way. Latte Lat, like you said, almost scored a banger. And yeah, they created tons of chances. But the other side of it to me is that they looked too slow going upfield. And I was tweeting about it. Like, this team, the players that it signed for the attack, the advertisement on them was they're fast. It's really, really fast. They're going to hit you with speed, and they're going to, they're going to be able to run at these defenses and cause a lot of problems. We still haven't really seen that. The main selling point on Latte Lat is that he's too fast. He's super freaking fast. He's basically the road runner. We have not seen that. Well, we've seen his speed, but we haven't seen him on the ball with that speed yet because this team just hasn't been able to really take advantage of that. We haven't seen the through balls into him that we've been expecting. We haven't seen, the balls over the top. Exactly what Charlotte did to score those 2 goals. That's what Atlanta is trying to do with this attack, with Latte Lat, with Saba, with Miggy, and they just can't do it yet. They didn't do it in this game, and that's part of the concern. Not like a grave concern with the Llamas, but part of the concern that I have with them is that I haven't been seeing them play as quickly as going into the season. I guess we're led to believe that they would do. Now, I think Ronnie Dyla has talked about it a lot, that they do need to be faster. They do need to go forward a little bit more, and I think that's you're going to see that improve a little bit. Again, second game of the season. So where they're still like it's growing pains, it's tactical adjustment, it's figuring things out. So yeah, I still think there's time, and I still think that it can get done. But that is one of my observations from this game, is that Atlanta on the attack, on the breaks, just isn't being fast enough with the players that it has.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, with time, hopefully that will improve. Takeaway number 3, let's hit it real quick. The defensive struggles. Bregazan said his media availability afterwards, there are 2 nothing balls that Atlanta United could deal with, and ultimately they're punished twice. Ronnie Dyla essentially said the same thing. He says it's not so much the fact that it happened, it's the response afterwards that he wasn't happy with. And yeah, it hurt them. Ultimately goes down in a loss. We talked about it before, so I won't rehash it. What the sentiment was from Dyla and Guzan, but he needs to really buckle down and keep this thing from happening again. And Dyla said, "Hey, look, we gotta go back and make sure that it doesn't." I know it's kind of been a common theme, common refrain among Atlanta United fans, managers, etc., players, but I mean, you can't have that happen once, much less twice. And hopefully, this team finally can take things to heart and keep something like this from happening with frequency.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it from a standpoint from this year compared to years past, I think you do have a coach who has been here for a very short time, but has already shown that he can fix problems. But when things are going well in anything in life, but obviously we're talking about soccer, you have bad habits that are ingrained in you from the way that you have trained or done whatever throughout your time. When adversity hits, that's what you're going to fall back to.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we saw today.
Yeah.
We saw a silly, stupid goal be given up. And that's got to be fixed too. Like you can't give away those kind of goals. But then you have to respond way better. And that was, to that whole point from Dyla, that was the issue today. It was you got punched in the mouth. It happens in soccer. It is what it is. But then you just kind of rolled over into the fetal position and you looked sad until the subs were made. The subs that were made, I got to give Dyla credit because I was a little, sometimes it's great to bring in like a wholesale change, and other times it doesn't work. I thought it worked today because I thought it brought some life back, and you didn't get anything out of it, but I did think it kind of flipped the game at least back a little bit in Atlanta's favor going into the end of the match. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just a mentality issue that has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed hard. However, you can replicate that kind of stuff in training, and that's hard to do. You have to do it to get these guys learning how to really fight through serious adversity. And if you can do it, then great. And I do think Ronnie Dyla is going to be the coach that has shown he can do it with other teams in the past. You just hope from an Atlanta perspective, as an Atlanta fan, he can do it sooner than later.
Henry?
It's a team that looked like it was missing the top 3 fullbacks on its roster, on its depth chart. And, that's just very unfortunate that the injuries that you have are pretty much all at that position. And so you have to start Matt Edwards and then move Abram to play out of position, which, by the way, Matt Edwards, credit to him for,
for sure.
he did a solid job defending Zaha in the first half. But then I look on the other side, and Abram struggled. Abram had some struggles today, both on defense and going forward. He's just not the guy that you want on that side, unfortunately. He just can't release the ball fast enough, and when he does, it's just not good. And then on defense, he was caught flat-footed on it's really the first goal. He arrived 5 minutes after the ball hit the net, so it was just not good from him there. But it was an overall kind of thing. It was a series of things just going wrong. And so, yeah, I mean, that's things that are going to get ironed out for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I have much more to add on to that. Just that you hope to see improvement, because that was in the second half to begin. That's tough. It's a team that, again, when they have that rhythm, they're good, but they go into the second half and you start the half again and you concede again. The goals came early in the second half. Same thing against Montreal. I feel like there's a trend there, and it's something that they have to nip in the bud and figure out a way for these players to just keep themselves up and carry it on through halftime into the second half to not have this stuff happen again. So I hope when these fullbacks are back, when we get Pedro Amador and Brooks Lennon and folks back, yeah, I think that'll help solve things a little bit, but there's a mental aspect to it too.
2-0, Atlanta United falls to Charlotte FC at Bank of America Stadium. Like, comment, subscribe, share our content, helps us out a lot as we look to grow as much as we can. Again, shout out to Sweetwater Brewery. Thanks so much for your support, your partnership with Scarves and Spikes. ScarvesandSpikes.com, patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes for all social. What are you pulling down there? Oh, Sweetwater Rally Peach IPA. Yes. Grab that from the
Shout
store
out.
near you. Shout out. Grab it from the store near you. We're out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.